Byers. And sorry, I got the message about the recording. We have Jim Byers, and he'll be presenting tips, tricks, and hacks for video call facilitation. Zoom your way to a better experience. Jim has over 20 years experience in the software development field. He helps companies and teams of all shapes and sizes transition to the agile methodologies, from the tiniest startups to the biggest corporations. Welcome, Jim.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here for sure. Let me get my screen shared with you guys and we'll get going.
You should have access to present. Thank you.
Yeah, I see the screen. Looks good.
All right, excellent. All right, so yes, tips, tricks, and hacks for video call facilitation is what we're here for tonight. This is going to be, I'm a technology geek. I love technology. If I can solve a problem with an application, I try. Not always the best or most efficient way to do it. And so my desire tonight is to drop a whole bunch of nuggets, and hopefully you'll find one or two at least that you can implement in what you're doing. A little bit about myself. I work for Snapped. I absolutely adore my company. I've been with them since October. You heard a little bit about just my experience with Agile and just that space. I love business transformation. I love helping people do work. So everything that I want to help with from a career-wise is to help people do their job better. Hence part of the topic for tonight. I also volunteer with the local Agile meetup in my area in Nashville, Tennessee is where I hail from. I volunteer with the Boy Scouts. I enjoy climbing. One of the most important things to me, you can see the picture on the top left, is my family. So spending time with my family. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I put my link in the bio, and then you can also scan this QR code. And then if I'm not doing all of that stuff, you can find me doing some volunteer work with my local church. So that's a touch about me. Tonight, we're going to spend some time going over these tips, tricks, and hacks. I do want to let you know that each one is weighted on a scale. They're going to be on a scale of 1 to 5 for cost and for complexity. And basically, a 1 for complexity or cost is basically it's super easy or it's probably free. 5, it's obviously going to be the opposite end of that scale. So it might be pretty technical to get into. None of them are so technical that with a little bit of practice, you can't find the solution for that. I am going to provide a matrix or a handout. I don't currently have that ready, so I'll get that ready in the next couple of weeks and I'll get it out to you, and we'll get that forwarded to you. So you'll have all of the things that I'm using today. You'll have a link to them, and then I'll put them on a matrix based on its cost and complexity as well. The table time that you see there, we're actually going to probably do some of these together since we do have the benefit of being virtual together tonight with each other. We'll actually interact with some of these tips along the way. So, all right, here's the list. And here's my warning. My poor wife sat through this presentation at least 5 times. And I think she fell asleep during the last time. And I asked her, I'm like, was it because of the content or was it because you've already heard it 5 times? I got a little bit of a vague answer, but we both landed on it was probably because she heard it so many times. I will tell you though that these tips and tricks that they're going to be, some of them are pretty technical. You're going to find 1 or 2, hey, this applies, and some of them don't apply. I would recommend that you grab a piece of paper and write down the things that are interesting to you, because we're going to try to go through these pretty rapid fire. And then at the end, we'll definitely stop and we can go back to, I can demo any of the ones that we've talked about and answer more questions about it. If you have something that is a burning desire and you really have a strong question, feel free to use the raise hand function and I'd be more than happy to stop as well. All right, jumping right in, music. So as we were gathering tonight, there was kind of a bit of lull. It was quiet. It just kind of, it was what it was. And it might be the personality of this group, or it might be just that it was quiet. It was a quiet night, the end of the long work day, right? One of the ways that you can add energy, depending upon if that's your desire, is you can actually play music in Zoom. And I'll show you as well how to do this on a couple of other ones, but I'm going to go ahead and demo this for you real quick. So you should hear some music playing in the background, and you also hear my voice. So this is a lot of fun because you can play music while we're gathering. You get some upbeat songs. It's happy. It's a fun way to interact. If you're using Zoom, it's nice because multiple people can talk and the audio still comes through. So how I'm doing it at the moment is I'm sharing with my share of my screen. Let me show you how this works. So let me stop the music. All right. So if I do new share, because I'm currently sharing, then I get this share option, right? And under the advanced, this is how you would do it if you didn't want to also share content, but you just wanted to share the music, is you can click this computer audio. And if you click the computer audio, I'm not going to click share now because it'll cause my screen to hide on you guys, but it would share, you would still be in the gallery view, just like we were doing when we were networking, but music could be playing in the background. I'll go back real quick because I do want to show you some of the cautions. You do have to be careful of the audio level. You can, because it can be really annoying, right? Where the audio of the music is overwhelming the people that are talking, and then also audio clipping. And if you're on a Mac, I'm going to show you on a bonus tip after the next one, how to make sure that your audio comes through smoothly. Take you back here. If you guys may be used to this already, if you want to share audio while you're sharing your content, then this little box down here at the bottom that share sound, that's the one that you would want to click. So sharing with a presentation, or under advanced, sharing just audio. Let me close that. And then you'll notice in my music player, I have the audio for the music player turned almost all the way down. And when you heard it before, it was loud enough, right? It didn't necessarily need to be much louder. So that's the tip there. All right, what about if you don't have Zoom? What if you're using another platform? The company I work for right now, our preferred platform is Google Meet. And Google Meet doesn't have the audio only sharing. It's fine if I'm sharing content and audio. And so one of the ways that I get around it is I'll have like a welcome slide that I'm displaying, and I'm sharing the audio for that. But there's another way to do it. And so let me show you what that sounds like. So I'm going to go back in my share and change. All right, share without sharing my audio. And I'm going to play my music again. And now I'm going to turn up my computer. So can you hear my audio? Can you hear my music a little bit? Let me turn it up a little bit.
No.
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 I can hear something kind of choppy.
Okay.
Yeah, something started at the very end, something started to clip in and out.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually is a setting. I'll share my screen with you so I can show you what I'm doing. Under audio, you see this Zoom optimized audio. Let's see. Yeah, background noise suppression. So it's turned on to auto right now. So if I turn off the auto suppression, well, that's not going to let me. Well, in any case, that is actually one of the cautions that we're talking about specifically is the clipping that happens. So you have to be careful with that setting. Since we're into that tip as well, let me show you real quick on the Mac. There's another setting on a Macintosh, which is voice isolation. So the nice thing about these tools that we're using, these platforms, is they're allowing us to, they're trying to get rid of all that background noise. So I'm not sure if you could hear my air conditioner was running a minute ago. It's trying to suppress that noise. The problem is when you're trying to play music, it's also suppressing that. So if you have a Mac and you have this voice isolation turned on, do the same thing where you're going to hear a little bit of music, but it's clipped out. So you're going to want to go into your settings, your computer settings, do stand and turn off the voice isolation. And then you also need to do that similar thing inside of the application that you're using. So if I go back to audio settings, down here under audio, this is this zoomed optimized, there you go. So live performance and original sound. So these two would turn off the voice suppression, but this voice suppression or this background noise suppression, that's what was causing the clipping. Does that make sense to everybody? So all of these tips that we're going to go over, you're going to want to practice them. And because some of them, you're going to need to figure out the nuance of it. The good news is Zoom is the easiest. Use that advanced audio sharing and you can share audio. All right, let's jump into the next one. And this one's going to be participatory. So change the name icebreaker. I'm not sure if you guys have done this before. This is really great for making connections with people. Right now on our screens, we all see each other's names. But if you are starting a facilitation session, one of the things that you probably want to do is if you're teaching, you want to make a connection to your material, or if you're just you're facilitating a session, you might have an icebreaker to kind of get people to know each other a little bit better. And so one way that you can do that is you can have everybody go to their Zoom window. And let me see if I can show you how to do this. All right, so here's an example. So the three little dots next to your name, you can click the rename button, and then it gives you a little window that pops up and you can type something. So what I'd like all of you all to do today is if you'll put in your favorite ice cream. So everybody go to that change name option and put in your favorite ice cream, and I'll do the same thing.
I don't even know how to.
One of the things that you might have to be careful of is I'll go back real quick and show you the cautions. The host meeting settings need to allow it. On this Zoom that we're on, it does. Some platforms have some challenges with it. So if you have an older version of Zoom, it may be difficult. As the facilitator, if you're the host, you can go in and do that same thing. You can hit the three dots and name somebody. So you might need to go in and do that for them if they're having difficulty with it. Or if they're if you're on a mobile, you actually have to go to the participants view to see it. And in the participants view, you can make that change. All right, so I see chocolate gelato, chocolate, French vanilla, mint Oreo, a lot of vanilla fans, some cookie dough, chunky monkey. Fantastic. Thanks for playing along. I can see some smiles on some faces even as we do that. So that kind of tells you even right there where it's a good icebreaker. It's a fun icebreaker. It kind of gets you connected to your fellow human, right? And somehow in the process of clicking all those menus, I have a picture of Grogu for my background. So on the next tip, I will show you how to change that. All right. Zoom backgrounds. Zoom backgrounds complexity. It's a little bit, it's not super difficult, but it isn't as simple as just logging into a meeting, right? Cost, it's free. It's all part of the system. We're going to show you on Zoom, and then we're going to show you on some other platforms as well. This is another way to do an icebreaker, another way to add some fun and some play. I have some backgrounds that I use when I'm logging into my teams for some celebration. So I might have a party background, different things. You might use Zoom backgrounds if you have like a noisy background, if there's things that are adding to just visually distracting to your environment. That might be a good reason to add this. One thing that I've seen one team that I worked with in the past do is the team had a tendency to get distracted. Somebody would start talking. If we've all had this, right, where somebody kind of like takes the meeting captive and they just keep talking, and all of a sudden we're off topic and we don't really know kind of how to get back. So one of the things this team did is they invoked a pineapple rule. And the pineapple rule is as soon as we said, hey, we're off topic, it would say pineapple. Well, then at the next retrospective, they felt like, well, I don't really feel like I can interrupt and do that. So everybody in the team got the same picture of this pineapple with sunglasses. And what would happen is if somebody started veering off track, somebody would go in and put that background up. And so it was a very non-invasive way to say, hey, we're off track. So you can use it anywhere from fun, and it actually serves some practical purposes. Let's take a look at how this works. So if I go into the menu bar, next to your video icon, you should be able to hit this drop down, and you should have this option that says choose virtual background. Now, also, depending upon the age of your Zoom, that may not be available, or if you're in the web client, sometimes it's not available also. But if you do have it, it'll be next to your video, and you can hit choose virtual background, and it comes up with this menu. And you can see that it's pretty easy to switch. When I switch it, it takes it immediately. They also have moving backgrounds. And then if you desire, you can go in and actually upload your own images. And so you might, like, here's the party background I was talking about a minute ago. That's one that I uploaded. You can upload, like I've uploaded the slide. This is part of the slide deck from Agile 2023. So that is how you change backgrounds in Zoom. So if you'll play along, and if you'd be so kind, go ahead and pop in, hit that video and see if there's a background that you like. Go ahead and try to apply that while I go into the next step. All right. Anybody, by a show of hands, you can either just use the reaction in Zoom or raise your hand if you're still on. Anybody use Google Meet for their meeting platform or has used it in the past? Okay. Well, I will fly through this one pretty quickly, just so you're aware of it, but I won't spend a whole lot of time experimenting with it. But the Google Meet has the ability to change backgrounds just like we do here. It does work a little bit different, and it's the same cautions and the same reasons why you might try it. So I have Google Meet up here on my screen. So I'll share my background. I'm going to get a quick meeting going. Find my meeting. Sorry, I've lost the Google Meet meeting. Oh, that's Zoom. I'm sorry. Google. All right, here we go. So a new instance of Google Meet. I'm going to start an instant meeting. All right, so there's my share. All right, so the way that you do it in Google Meet is at the bottom. Sorry, it's not cooperating. Apparently I'm having internet issues, so. All right, so down here at the bottom, there's this more options. And under the more options, there's video filters or apply visual effects. So we'll use that on another tip as well coming up. So, but when you apply visual effects, you have a menu that comes up just like in Zoom, and you can choose your background from the list that's down there. All right. So let's move to the next tip, Google Meet companion mode. If you're using Zoom, you're probably using, and if you have multiple monitors set up, you're probably using the multi-mode view. And if you're not, it's a search in the settings and you can find multiple monitors. And what happens is if you're using multiple monitor view, it allows you to take the gallery view of all the participants and separate it from the meeting content. And so that's really helpful if you're trying to engage your audience, especially if you're facilitating, because being able to take a look at people and kind of see what they're up to while you're presenting content is really helpful. So how that works is here you see now I've got two of my screens showing. So I've got my main screen that's down here on my laptop, and then I'm showing you one of my other monitors. And so if I had some content that was being shared right now, so I'll share a tab with you. So inside of Google Meet, what happens is the content takes up one of the spaces. In fact, it takes up a very significant space. So you can see on my back screen there that the people's icons have gotten really small and the content is large. So what you can do is copy the meeting code down here from the bottom left side. And if I go to my other screen, to my web browser, and I go to Google Meet, it allows me to join a meeting just like I would the first time. But then after I join this meeting, I'm going to get an option over here on the right-hand side that says join in companion mode. And then what companion mode will do for me is it joins the meeting without reconnecting my video and audio, and it only uses that window for the shared content. So then that allows me to go back to the main Meet window and hit this little unpin icon that you see right here. And this unpin icon then causes this to shrink back down, and it'll allow me to have more of this gallery view and less of the content, because the content's going to be over here on this other screen. So this is what that looks like. And if there was more people in the meeting, we would see all the different squares just like we see it here in Zoom. So, right. I'm going to go ahead and move forward, mostly because you guys aren't using Google Meet and this is acting a little wonky. So let's go ahead and pop to the next tip. All right, so green screens. I had this in there. You can see my video right now. I'm using this background. If I turn my background off, I'm actually not using a green screen. Has anybody here, just by a show of hands, have you used a green screen before for video calls? Okay, you have, Jennifer. Okay, and then Chocolate Gelato has as well. All right. And so I personally haven't had a lot of luck with them. I'm actually going to be taking this tip out. I just hadn't had, I got my green screen yesterday and I was working with it. Zoom is taking, it's doing it so well that you almost don't need a green screen. But what I did figure out is you have to light it really well if you decide to use it. So mixed, how was your experience with it? For those that have used it, you can go ahead and come off mute and tell us why you're using it and what luck you've had with it.
Hey, sorry. Yeah, actually, I misunderstood the question. So I was thinking you just meant the green screen effect,
Gotcha.
not the actual, like, literally buy a green screen, one Chrome color and use that.
Okay.
Yeah, I do find it used to be a lot worse. It would eat all the memory of the computer to have, a fake background and crash, but it's been pretty good recently.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to finding somebody that's using it and using it well, because I've had a lot of challenges trying to get it to go. Some cautions that you need to know if you are using a green screen is the color of shirt that you're wearing or the clothes that you're wearing, because suddenly your shirt becomes part of the color. That might be an effect you're after. For giving a presentation like this, it wasn't one that I was after. So, all right. All right, Zoom immersive view. This one's a lot of fun. This is a way to cause people to feel connected in this environment where so many of us aren't going into the office anymore. And we're in this Brady Bunch style where we see all these little squares of each other in Zoom. The immersive view of Zoom is a really fun option to play with. Actually, this is where I might need to be the host. Can one of the hosts look in the top right-hand corner and see if you have an immersive view option? I'll show you where it is. So it should be under the view option. Instead of speaker and gallery, there should be an immersive view right here.
I do not see immersive view. I see side-by-side standard, side-by-side speaker, side-by-side gallery, hide self-view, hide non-view video participants, swap video, and then I got a full screen.
Okay.
But I don't have a immersive.
Yeah, same. Is that something that the presenter would only see? Or?
It is something that only the host of the meeting will see immersive view. I've got a demo that I'm going to show you here in just a moment in one of the other platforms, so you can get an idea of how it works. It does require that you're updated to the most current version of Zoom. It also has some pretty significant system requirements. So even though you see it, all of your participants might not see it. So let me pop forward here real quick, and I'll use Microsoft Teams as my demo for this. All the same reasons that you would use it for the togetherness and the view. It actually originated in Teams, Microsoft Teams. And then it came to Zoom because it was so effective. So let me get this running for us real quick. All right, so I've actually got a recording of it. So if I click this view button in the top left corner and you see this together mode, here's kind of what it would look like. Unfortunately, I was recording this, I was all by myself, but you can see that it puts me in a seat. And if you can imagine, everybody else that would be in the meeting with me would be in a seat next to me. So it gives a really fun feel for feeling exactly what it talks about is a together view. So Zoom has it, it's in beta right now, and Microsoft Teams has it. Any of y'all are welcome to go download Microsoft Teams. It's available for free if you wanted to play with this and get an idea, or if you wanted to, I'm not sure if the free version of the Zoom account has it, but it's definitely something to play with if you think that would be helpful for your teams. And then you can, like I'm showing in this video, you can change the screen and change the view. So, all right. All right. Now, something that I did test when I first got on the call is a Zoom avatar. The Zoom avatar is also a lot of fun. Quick warning, not all versions, not all systems can handle the avatar and not all versions have it. But if you do have it, it looks like this. So take a look over at my video and I'll turn my avatar on. So here I am. I am now a computer graphic. I've used this for when I'm facilitating a meeting. If you think about those of you that have been through the IC Agile trainings, when we have our facilitator hat on, that's a neutral stance, right? And so our intent is to not show as much expression. We're trying to draw out of our participants. Sorry, Microsoft.
Sorry, that might have been me. I found the immersive setting.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. Yeah, that's it. Let me stop the share. So there you go.
Avatar. Sorry, it's funny.
That's fantastic. Let me turn my avatar off as well. So there we are. Like, hey, you know, Alex, give me a high five, buddy. Other side.
Wrong way. I'm this way. Oh, this way. Now
All
you're
right.
leaving me hanging.
Barbara, Alex, Barbara, there you go. Yeah. So you guys could, this is pretty fun, right? And this is when you're sharing content, you saw that when it first content was still on there. But if you don't share content, you get this. And there's a bunch of different ones. I've used this when I'm doing a coaching dojo, or even just coaching, but the coaching dojo where you have somebody watching your practice. You want just the two videos on there because it makes it more intimate, right? And so you can use the cafe view, which is just going to show two different participants. So, and then actually to turn it off, you would just simply go back to the view and then go back to gallery view, and that'll turn it off for all participants. There it is. Thank you for finding that. That was fantastic.
Yeah, sorry for the delay. I was host on my phone, so if you're ever using your mobile, it, like you said, it's probably the version of Zoom.
Awesome.
Hey, Jim, one quick tip. I'm running an old Mac here, and it seems that could be an issue too with the camera. When I tried to do a virtual background, it said you can't unless you have a green screen. So I'm assuming it was something about the age of the equipment. So that can be a problem too.
Oh, that's fantastic information. I hadn't thought about the older versions needing to have a green screen for virtual backgrounds. So there you go.
Because I've run Zoom on this computer with an external camera with external backgrounds, no problem. I'm using the built-in cam that's 9 years old and it won't do it.
Got it. Super helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. All right. So back to my content. So you see the Zoom avatar. Let me go ahead and show you how it works. Let me move you guys back off of that screen. And pull down. Here we go. So next to, just like the other things, next to your camera, there's this option for, if it's available to you, to choose avatar. And so if I hit that, you have the option down here. This is where I've created my avatar. The avatars will work with virtual backgrounds. So you can put a virtual background behind yourself. And then if you want to make one, or if that's not, let's say you don't want to spend the time making an avatar to try to get as close as you can also shift over. Yep, I see some foxes, I see some dogs. Exactly. Fantastic. And there's even different styles available. So, right, there's a fox with a hoodie, or there's a fox with a shirt. Kind of So these are a lot of fun. I like to use this when I'm observing a breakout room. So if I've sent my participants off to a breakout room and they're talking amongst themselves, if I come in as myself, often they'll expect me to answer a question. If I come in as an avatar, they're like, oh, Jim's being neutral right now, so we're going to pretend like he's not here. So that could be a couple use cases for it. I'm going to turn mine back off. And let's go into the next tip. So Google Meet also has this functionality. The functionality in Google Meet is, since most of you aren't using it, I'm not going to demo it tonight, but it's there right next to the video backgrounds. It doesn't give you the same complexity that Zoom does as far as the ability to create your own. And you're not likely going to use it for neutrality because most of them are they're masks that you might put on, or they're just it's a fun way. You can definitely add fun to your meetings with it, but not as useful from a neutrality perspective. All right. This next one is the last one for Google Meet. And it's they have this concept of reactions. So we have reactions in Zoom. So if everybody will throw maybe a thumbs up for me in your Zoom reactions. That's where they go. Yeah, so reactions, and we can throw a heart up. Exactly. I see all the thumbs up. So this is nice. In Google Meet, they actually take it to the next level. Let me show you what that looks like. So if somebody throws a heart, they start to show on the screen. If multiple people throw a heart, they explode. It works with most of the different emojis in Google Meet. So the hand clap. The most interactive one is the celebration one, which, that makes sense. So you can see next, if people start throwing the hearts, or the celebration, it explodes across your screen. So this is a fun way to kind of, again, the way I see this working with teams is somebody will throw a heart and then suddenly somebody will be like, oh yeah, I'm going to heart that too, because they know if 3 people heart it, it's going to explode, right? Or they'll throw a celebration and if 3 people celebrate, it explodes across everybody's screen. So it's a lot of fun to play with, and it starts to cause some alignment with your teams as well. All right, we're a little over halfway through, and we are going to do some exploring. So by a show of hands again, if you guys could tell me how many people use Miro, not Mural, but Miro. How many people have used that before? All right, so I see a couple out there. Perfect. So let's get a little bit of exposure to it. So Miro is a tool that you can use for online collaboration. I personally use it instead of sharing my screen a lot of times with my members, or with whatever I'm facilitating. I will give them a Miro link instead, and then we all get to go out to that Miro link and interact with it. So let me show you what this looks like. So here's what Miro looks like. I've set up a couple slides already for this. And so if I go to the top right-hand corner and I hit present, it looks just like a slideshow, right? It comes in, it gives me full screen view, it zeroes in on the first slide. I have some slide controls down here at the bottom so I can hit next frame. The difference is when you've joined me out on this link, you have the ability to actually interact with the content. So inside of your web browser, you would see this, and you would be able to go grab your pin and be able to say, hey, what part of the country are you from? You can drag and drop it. If I'm on a different one where we've got some stickies that are set up, you would be able to go in and interact with the sticky as well. So that Miro is already a fun tool. I highly, there's a free version. You can have up to three boards with the free version. So it's Miro.com. Definitely check it out, because that in and of itself might take your facilitation to the next level. But then when you're in it, know that there's also this presentation mode that we're experimenting with today. Breakout frames. So breakout frames for Miro. We've got a call right now, and it looks like there's about 15 people on with us right now. And so if I don't count Barbara twice, right? So there's 15 of us out there. I didn't know at the beginning of this call how many participants we were going to have, right? So if we were going to do some breakout activities, we might want to keep our group size to like 5 or 6, so in this case, it'd be great to break us up into 3 separate groups, 3 separate rooms. Well, the problem is when you have a whiteboard tool like Miro and you're trying to prepare, how many extra frames do you create to allow your participants to interact in their own board, right? Where they're not crossing over each other's board. So Miro has the ability, it does, the cost is a 2 because it does require a paid plan of Miro. The complexity is 2 because it takes a little bit of practice. And then a caution for you, this is in beta. From the time I started preparing the presentation till now, they've changed the way that it works a little bit. And so I expect them to continue to iterate it and make it better. I'll show you one of the things that they changed recently. So, all right, so here's back to my Miro board. And how I'm going to operate with this is I'm first going to go up to the top under more apps, and I'm going to click this breakout frames. When I click breakout frames, it's going to ask me to pick a frame. So I'm going to pick this frame that I prepared ahead of time. And then I have this option down at the bottom and it says create 2 breakout frames, or I have a drop down next to it. And we talked about for this meeting, I would create 3 separate breakout frames. So I click that and I hit create. And then you can see what it does for me is it duplicates that content for me automatically. It creates breakout rooms 1 through 3. What I said before is one of the changes that they made. It used to label the rooms 1 through however many. It's not currently functioning properly at the moment. And so I do expect them to fix that. But how I would adapt in the moment is I would just simply tell my rooms, okay, I'm going to send you guys off to breakout rooms. Whatever the number for your breakout room is, go ahead and go to that number down. So if you're in breakout room 3, just go to the 3rd board down, and that's the one that your team is going to take advantage of. All right. Fantastic. There's one more thing I'm going to show you in Miro, which I think is a lot of fun. This also does require a paid plan or a paid version. And this is meetings inside Miro. So if you want to, maybe your team is virtual and you don't necessarily need to get a Zoom going, but you want to collaborate and use this space, this has the ability to start a video chat directly in Miro. What that looks like is up here at the top, under that option, I've got video chat. And a quick little bonus tip for you, if you are like me and you like to be on the bleeding edge and try a bunch of new things, the people who make Miro have this thing called Around. It's another video platform, and it does the same thing that I'm about to show you inside of Miro, but it does it for your entire desktop. So that might be another tool to play with and experiment with. But for today, we're just going to use what's built into the screen. If I start my camera and I start the video chat session, it'll watch and you'll see my camera. And then as it does that, as I move around the board, it keeps the cameras right there off to the side, right? And if more of you were joining me out here on this, you would see your other videos here as well. And so the nice thing about that is you can collaborate, you guys can talk, and you're on the board. It's using one thing instead of trying to share your content and that additional complexity. But again, something that you're going to want to practice if you're going to give this a go. All right. So Zoom whiteboards. How many people, by a show of hands, have used the whiteboard share functionality inside of Zoom before? All right. Sue has, Jennifer. Okay. Awesome. The nice thing about the Zoom whiteboard is it's a great place to collaborate. It's built into Zoom. I have had some problems with older versions not being able to utilize it. And then also another caution is just know that you can't use the Zoom whiteboard while you're sharing. So you'd have to stop the share in order for that to work. But it is a fun way to interact. I'm going to show you a quick little video of how it works. And then also a bonus tip for you. If you have an iPad, you can utilize your iPad and log into your same Zoom account and log into the whiteboard that way. And that gives you the ability to use your iPad to draw. So here I am clicking on the whiteboard tab at the bottom of my share options. I have the ability to create a new one or select one that's already created. I'm going to create a new one. I have the ability to do a presentation or to use a collaboration mode. And then I also have the ability to make it available after the meeting. So in this case, I'm turning that off and I'm going to open the board up. And just like on what we were doing on Miro, you have the ability to add shapes, add stickies. You can draw directly on the board. And everybody that would be logged into that board has the ability to do this. So it's a lot of fun. Picture's worth 1,000 words, right? I'm going to show you a couple of different tips and ways to do whiteboard functionality in just a moment for teaching. But this is a fun way to utilize it inside of Zoom directly. All right. So you also can use Zoom slides as a virtual background. And so the complexity, this is a 2, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but something that you want to practice. The why you might do this is it adds, right now, you're able to see, depending upon how you've selected your view, you see my slides, they're separate from my camera. And so you have a little box probably, or you have the gallery view and you can see the slides. If you want to be able to draw attention a little bit more closely to the slides, you would use this tip. So let me show you how it works. Let me get rid of Teams. All right, so here's my desktop. I'm going to start a new share. And under my options here, under advanced, I have the ability to, it says slides as virtual background. So if I select that, it asks me to select my presentation. This works with both Keynote and also PowerPoint. So I've created some slides for us here. So I'm going to open this. And now my share has changed over to these slides. I'll give it just a second to load. And here I am. So hi, you can see me directly on top of my slides. There's a little button that allows me to change my slides. And so if I was trying to teach and make some points, this gives you the ability to draw attention directly to your slides. You can actually change the size of the video. So if I make myself a little bit larger, you can move the video around from different parts. So is this super useful? Maybe. It's something to experiment with and try though. And then again, you give the ability to change your slides. And then here I'm in the way of my text, so I would want to move over to the left. All right, I'm going to stop that share because I want to tell you about a bonus tip real quick. Go back to my other screen. Here we go. PowerPoint has that same functionality built in. So if you are on other platforms other than Zoom, or maybe you're speaking to a really large room and you want to put your video on the screen, you can actually do that directly inside of PowerPoint. Here's what that looks like. I'm inside PowerPoint and I'm adding, if I go to the insert, Cameo is over on the far right-hand side. And there's an image that it adds of me. You can move it around just like I did inside of Zoom. You can resize it. It works just like a picture. So any of the adjustments that you would make to a picture, let's say I want to change it over to a square, I have that option to make those changes. I could add frames to it. I could add, basically anything that you can do a picture inside of PowerPoint. It allows you that option. And that's how you use Cameo. So that's a bonus tip. It's not one of the 20. I'm going to stop there for just a moment because we're going to get into OBS. And we're about to cross the technical threshold. So I'm going to stop my share here. What questions or comments do you have? I see there's some conversation about Miro versus Mural. Let's just go ahead and stop for just a moment and kind of the tips and tricks that we've talked about, what's one that you think that you might try to apply maybe this week or next?
Yeah, the whiteboarding off iPad.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
I was gonna say I really like the background because I think those are good icebreakers. I personally use Teams, so just having a background for conversation or maybe like for stoppers like you did with the pineapple. I really like that idea.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Like any good teacher, my encouragement to you is to think about one of these, find one of these, and then make a commitment to yourself of when to apply it, right? Because that there are situations that that these apply. Some of them don't necessarily apply, but the more you practice, the bigger your toolbox. And then when you have a situation in the future where you need to use one of these tools, then you have it available to you. All right, I am going to switch my camera over because I want to talk about OBS. So switch to all of this. All right, here we go. All right, well, I apologize. We're having technical difficulties, so I will do this a different way. I'll go back to this window.
You had stopped sharing at one point. Do you need to reshare?
No, the way that it's supposed to work is this becomes my virtual camera. OBS is it stands for Open Broadcasting Software. And it's a bit of a hog. And my computer, for whatever reason, it is running not well tonight. I restarted before the presentation, in hopes that would all work out. But you should be able to see my share now. And I'll go ahead and turn my regular camera back on so you can still see me. All right. All right, so on my screen share, you can see what I have available this is what you see over here on the left. You should actually even be seeing it as my camera instead. So OBS allows you the ability to create a virtual camera. And with the virtual camera, it allows you some different techniques and different different tips and techniques that you can use. One thing that you can do is you can, just like we had before, you can use OBS for virtual content. Everything that I've been showing you tonight on my share has actually been inside of OBS. I haven't been using PowerPoint for this. Here's another example you can see on my share. This is me using OBS where I've got multiple layers set up. It doesn't work quite as well as Zoom does, but it does give you the ability to layer an image and layer a camera on top of that image. You can do a whiteboard in OBS, and this is something that I've used quite a bit for teaching. Complexity on this is a 5. As you can see that we even ran into a snag tonight with it. The cost is listed as a 2 because you may already have access to an iPad. But as far as the software goes, all of the software is free. And here's what this looks like. So I've got an iPad connected to my computer right now, and I've got my video showing. And if I were to start drawing on here, it shows up right away. And the nice thing is when you're normally using this as your virtual camera is you don't actually need to share the content. It just comes across on your video channel. You can preload content on here as well. So for example, I've got an image. This is an image from tonight's meeting. So you can preload your whiteboard, add additional content. And one of the things that I like to do when I'm talking about Scrum and I'm talking about flow and things like that is I like to use the example of like a roundabout, right? And so you can have the ability to draw and talk about the roundabout, the difference between that and say a traditional intersection that everybody has to come to a stop. And you can compare that, right? What is the self-regulating flow of a roundabout? So however you might want to add your teaching tips, this gives you the ability to do it directly on the screen. Another thing that you can do with the OBS software is you can set up a glassboard. I've used this for recording videos before. I've used it for talks and presentations like we're doing now. Complexity, same thing. It's a 5. It's something that you would definitely want to practice. Cost, it does require an iPad or some sort of tablet connected, but it is great for teaching points. So here's what that looks like. So here I am. You've got my camera, my videos across here, and then I can draw directly on the whiteboard. So this is similar to if I were standing with a piece of glass between me and the camera. So I can, the options, it's behind me, right? So that everything that I've drawn is on the screen and it shows up between us. So you can use this, you can preload this with content like we did the other thing. So you have the ability to add content and then also interact with the content directly. And this, different than a whiteboard, is that it's still there, but it's directly entire. You see more of your video screen with it. Here's what it looks like to set it up. So what you see on the screen right now is my iPad. And my iPad, you can see this beautiful pink background, right? That's different than the whiteboard I was using. The whiteboard that I was using is just a normal whiteboard with white. But you have to give OBS something to latch onto, much like a green screen. And so how that looks is inside, I apologize for the infinity zoom, but I would go into my iPad settings and I would add what's called a filter. So I click on this and I say filters, and then here's the input feedback for the iPad. I would click the plus button and I would add a chroma key. And the chroma key comes up and it gives me the ability to select my color. So I would do custom and then select color, use the little eyedropper, and now I can select that pink. And when I apply this, now you can see that it basically goes away. If I go back to the iPad, and here we go. So it's that same glass board. It's no longer showing the background, and it's using it as like you would with a green screen. And that brings us to the very last bonus tip. I've been using a thing called a Stream Deck, and a Stream Deck is a little button control system that is programmable. So they're individual little video screens, and you can program each button to do different things. So the way that I've got it set up tonight is I'm going from slide to slide. I was able to start and stop my music directly from it. And it just gives me the ability to control things. I'll go ahead and show you real quick. Here is my configuration wizard for it. And so down here at the bottom, this is the button that I'm using, and the screen looks exactly like what I see on the screen here. So here is my next buttons. Here's my mute button. I like this because the main reason I bought a Stream Deck in the first place was I was on so many Zoom meetings that I had a hard time finding a mute button. So you can use this to mute and unmute yourself. And then you can configure all of these to do different things. I have my normal daily driver where I can go in and I can launch all the different applications that I use in a day. So that's the bonus tip, is a Stream Deck gives you the ability to quickly configure some buttons. So I'll go back here. And that is the end of our tips and tricks. So I assure you, thank you. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. We'll go ahead and have some more questions and answers here in the last little bit that we have. But I do thank you for your attention, and feedback is a gift. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. If you've got any comments about this presentation, any ideas of how to make it better, I would absolutely adore them. Yeah, thank you for letting me be here this evening. Questions, comments, anything else that you want to see again?
I took a look for whiteboard in my share screen, and I didn't see it. Any thoughts on why that might be?
For
It
sure.
does say the host has to disable host is disabled participant sharing. Never mind. So that could be it.
Yeah, it's also the host is often the one that has to launch the whiteboard, or it depends on how the host is set up. But once the host actually starts the whiteboard, so if I start one here for us tonight, I'll give a new whiteboard and I'll do a collaboration. So you should see it's shared now, and you should have the ability, if everybody wants to go out and grab a shape or add a sticky, you can play with it a little bit. Belinda, are you able to see the whiteboard now? Oh, yep, I see you on the screen.
Yep.
This is definitely one of the lowest barriers to entry to try it, for sure, because it is right there in the same platform that you're utilizing. So if you get an opportunity to play with this in one of your meetings, it could be a good way to collaborate for sure without having to use Miro or Mural.
And how do you have your iPad hooked up to this or to Zoom?
Yeah, so to do it for Zoom, what I have is I actually have the Zoom app downloaded on my iPad. And so what you do is you log into Zoom and the whiteboard is one of the options on there, and you just choose the whiteboard that you want. And then that gives me the ability to use my iPad directly. So it's not connected to the computer. It's just connected over the internet. And that's how you do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And you can, I think every individual participant has to close the whiteboard. It may have closed for everybody, but I think you might have to do it as well. Other questions or comments? All right. Well, if you want to dig into any of these tips, I'd be more than happy to get a video call with you going, and we can do a little bit more exploration around it. But I do thank you for your time this evening. And thank you for having me here this evening as well.
Thank you for the presentation. It was very useful. I really enjoyed it. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording, and then we'll